The brothers Wisp. The brothers Wisp, brothers Wisp. The brothers Wisp. The brothers.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy with the Brothers Wisp. We're at WISPAPalooza 2025 on the showroom floor at the LibreQoS booth. They have some pretty cool announcements and some awards that they've won. So, Robert, what'd you guys get?
We are pleased to announce that LibreQoS has won the WISPA 2025 Product of the Year Award.
Congratulations. Woo! Yeah. And then we also have Herbert Wolfenstein.
Yep.
Yes, nailed it. Programmer extraordinaire. And he also has a new book, as I recall.
That's right. Advanced Hands-on Rust. I actually got the email when I woke up this morning that it just went to print. So
Congratulations.
I'm celebrating that and this.
Yeah. So yeah, if you're interested in Rust, he's got a ton of knowledge and books on it. So, but we're here at the LibreQoS booth. Robert, can you show us some of the cool new things you got going on?
We'd be happy to do so. So here's a live view of LibreQoS Insight. You may be familiar with LibreQoS itself. This is LibreQoS on my home network back in El Paso, Texas. LibreQoS is the shaper, and Insight gives you the insights to see what's going on your network and to track growth over time. So LibreQoS Insight has been out for about two and a half months.
Thereabouts.
You can see live traffic flows on Insight. So if your customer service reps want to see what's going on in a live perspective, they can see that all from one pane of glass. Here we have top ASNs, so you can see the retransmits to every single ASN that you're connected to. You can delve in, you can see what's happening on the shaper level. You can track throughput per shaper box. You can see what's happening in terms of the cake activity and also track retransmits as a percentage of all TCP traffic across the entire network. This functions as a really good proxy basically for packet loss. So you can see where am I getting packet loss across the network and what can I fix. We also have site rankings, heat maps, other tools to let you kind of see what's going on for these individual nodes. We also have some fun tools. So if you jump into, say, a specific customer's link, you can also see the TCP retransmits for every single ASN that individual customer is connected to. So we're tracking quite a bit of data per customer across the entire network. Let's jump in to see circuit performance. So you can see, obviously, the throughput, things like that over time. You can change the time interval. You can go to 28 days down to a few minutes. But you can also do an ASN analysis. So let's say a customer calls in and they're having trouble with, let's say, Google. They're having an issue connecting to the free TV service that Google provides to their TVs. You might be able to track that and say, you know what, actually, customer, I see you're having some major retransmits on that connection. Are you using a new TV? Is this something that just happened recently? You can really build trust with the customer and solve their issue, kind of peering into what's happening behind the home router. This also lets us do the timeline. The timeline view reveals a lot of that information, but displayed very differently. So if a customer calls and says, I had some trouble last night at 2 in the morning, you all weren't available, your office was closed, and I want to see what was going on. We can actually offer that to them now. So we'll load in a second.
This one is a lot of data.
Yes.
So this is every single TCP and UDP connection made over the last 24 hours. In this case, for this customer, we can spot some interesting peculiarities. So if I look here, something happened around at 2 a.m. Let's say the customer calls in and says, that's when I was having this trouble. You can validate that with them and say, wait, at 2 a.m. I see this is happening on Google. Is that right? Does this match what your experience is? And you can drill down and see, is this a peering issue, a routing issue? Is this something with my customer? What can we do to fix this for the customer? This lets you be actually proactive instead of just reactive. Instead of the customer jumping ship to a fiber provider, they may be more likely to stick with you and enjoy the quality of experience you're providing. Do you want to speak to some of the timeline, Herbert?
Yep, and you can also scroll to the bottom here at any time to narrow down the time range. So you find an interesting time period, you can start focusing in on it, and that's where you start seeing we've actually got multiple color codes. We're showing round trip time, TCP retransmits, and also the size of that flow, which is really important because if it's a little flow, the timing is going to be weird. If there was a ton of data and that's all acting badly, that's a sign of a real problem. So this gives you a way to handle that ticket you get in the morning that last night kind of sucked. You can see what they were doing. Maybe they didn't know they had something downloading all night. Maybe they, maybe they actually have a circuit problem. It reduces truck rolls, hopefully keeps everything flowing more smoothly. I personally love the live view because I just finished making it work.
So if a customer calls in and they're saying, I pay for 50 megabits per second, but I'm only seeing 25. You can screenshot this and say, hey, customer, can you run a speed test for me right now? Screenshot it and show them, hey, I can see what's going on here. You're actually using the other 25 megs for something different. It seems like that 25 megs is going to the Amazon ASN. Does that sound right? Are you watching maybe Amazon Prime? Yes. This is another opportunity to build trust with the customer and show that you know what's happening, you're helping them, and you're being proactive. You can also see the network activity tab, which gives a lot of the same flow information, but laid out a little bit differently. So if you need to drill down and see what was the actual connection to, let's say, this one doesn't have a lot of top level flows, but to Facebook or something, maybe their phone's having a trouble, you can actually see exactly what the retransmits were and the round trip time in each direction for those flows.
And it can also really help you out when they're on the phone and they're saying, well, I'm running speed test. Well, first of all, you can see the speed test so you know what speed they got before they tell you.
Right.
But also you can see that somebody else in the house is downloading the brand new game, updating their Steam library, and maybe that's related. So
we also have this new timeline history view. So a lot of people were very happy to see the SAM key last year. We've really adapted that quite a bit differently. So if you have an issue, let's say over the last 24 hours, and you're trying to track when that originated, let's say that you have at this AF60 LR, something is turning red and we're seeing it propagate all the way down the chain. We can identify exactly when that happened and what AP backhaul site was affected that led to this issue propagating down to these other lanes. That's a very unique advantage of this, but it's an interesting way to visually illustrate it without having to delve into every single AP site access point within the network. We also have...
That is really, really cool, and you can basically effectively track where a break is by just following the tree. That's very, very cool. And really beautiful user interface you guys are building right here.
Thank you. It also has a lot of data behind it, thanks to Herbert. And with that data, we're able to do some neat new things like the site heat map. Site heat map illustrates every AP node, site, anything you can think of on your network, all in one place. So this is over a 24-hour time period. If I want to spot very quickly where the pain points are on my network, I can see them right now. This is a Wave LR that has no other backup. It's just using the 5 gigahertz backup. It's been raining back in my hometown, and you can immediately spot that and spot the customer pain, go to resolve it. So the heat map is a really nice view that we like to avoid having to delve in too much to all the really technical stuff. We also have Libby. Libby is our AI chatbot assistant. Would you like to go into Libby?
So Libby started out as an experiment to try and handle foreign language speakers, because we've been getting a lot of help requests from places like the Philippines, and I really don't know Filipino. So initially, Libby started out as a translation layer, that it would provide data to an LLM, large language model, with names anonymized and then refilled back in on the way back, and give the answer in whatever language you asked. And then we discovered people like that, so we've been adding more and more tools, and there's more coming. But so it, like I said, it started out as a language barrier. We discovered people like this, and we discovered you can ask it questions like, what's wrong with Joe Bloggs' network? Please give me please give me a short answer I can give straight to the customer. Or you can tell it, just ask the question, and it'll give you ChatGPT style essay on the issue. But
for example, I might ask it which APs on my network are having the most issue. So which access points on this network are worst performing? Hopefully I spelled that relatively.
And so what it does behind the scenes is it runs it through a system translator that ties it to, you see it's running status tool. That status tool is aggregating data from throughout the database system we have, but it also calls back to your shaper and asks how is it doing right now. Aggregates a huge amount of data, which the LLM then thinks about it at length in the reasoning. And then it gives you, in whatever language you want. It always thinks in English because our docs are in English. Nice, in this case, obviously English.
And in this case, it correctly found a site that I know has some major issues. That's a site that only feeds one individual customer, and I bet they're having some trouble. I need to go investigate. There's another nano switch, which I need to replace, as with all nano switches on our network. We have an edge point that has only one client directly connected, has some trouble, but it's tracking with my own experience on the network. So this is something that can really help you to find, where the pain points are without maybe using all the other tool sets, Or if you have to inquire about a specific customer that may be called in, you can get some really in-depth information about how they're doing.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I should be behind. That's really awesome. That is a very effectively. You don't need to bring in somebody who's an expert in all these different toolings just to be like, okay, where are our pain points? How can we start fixing things? So that's really, really helpful.
Yeah, one of the things I spent a while doing was making sure that all of our documentation is in there. So if you, in whatever language, if you ask, how do I set up NetFlow? Libby knows the answer and will tell you in your language how to configure the box. And so the hope there is it'll reduce our support load a little bit as well.
And make it more accessible in other regions and other cultures.
Yeah.
We also have a few different things like reports. So on the circuit reports, these are AI-driven reports that look at a tremendous amount of data. I'll let Herbert kind of speak to what this aggregates. Starting on this part.
Yeah, so it's doing everything like day of the week, looking at last few weeks, and then what days of the week are you active? What times of day are you active? What types of ASNs are you going to? What types of traffic do you have? And from that, it is able to kind of build a profile for the user. So it'll usually guess, residential customer, usually active these times of day.
In this case, it gives
like
an
consumer?
update recommendation. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Early morning, late night access, primarily Apple and Microsoft. So that tells you quite a bit about them right there. They're not using the connection all that hard. Light personal use, active burst on Monday morning, apparently. Okay. Generally excellent round trip times. Apple and Microsoft are where the bulk of the data is going. So a lot of good key findings, but we really focused on trying to make sure that any critical issues, like in this case, split brain was detected, which means Robert had two shapers going. This is actually because he switched between them. And briefly, this customer was on both. That's really bad if it happens on a giant level, because each shaper is not immediately aware of the other one. They could be getting twice their bandwidth, something you have to worry about. Looks at performance trends, suggests a few things that you might want to look at. In some cases, it will tell you that this person really needs an upgrade. So it's not going to say that for this one because they're not heavily loaded. It'll also sometimes tell you this person does not need an upgrade.
Which is the case for this customer. They weren't really hitting their limit in any way, so we can get an honest assessment that that's not quite needed to solve their problem. So in addition, we also have a few other features, beyond Libby and the site heat map. You can also delve into like specific customers and look at the timeline and other features. But the main benefit of Insight is going to be simplifying your workflow. So things that take a while when you have 5 or 6 LibreQoS boxes are all aggregated in one place. It makes it simpler. It saves you time and allows you to really connect with your customer and build that trust that helps to compete against these big incumbents that come along that try to overbuild on your market.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for your time. This is a really cool developments, and it's cool to see you guys continuing to succeed and being recognized for it.
Yep, thank you.
Let's take a ride through space on this mothership. Wireless networking. We talk about equipment and methodology, so sit back and start learning. Lighten up the tower so people can start searching. Shooting up the web in neighborhoods, net surfing. We got horrible jokes, we're loud and annoying, but we're informative facts, we're not disappointing. Just give us a listen, cause fun is the mission. I'm telling you, you don't know what you are missing. Ideas and some good comedy given. If you missed the show already, don't worry, you're forgiven.